The Hoot and Holler Dance. A folk tale from Ghana, retold by Laura S. Sassi, illustrated by Jennifer Hewitson. Anansi is a spider character in many folk tales from West Africa. Anansi often uses his cleverness to trick or outsmart other animals. But his cleverness can also get Anansi into trouble, as in this tale. Anansi the spider was once very handsome, with 8 long legs, a round little belly, and a stunning head of hair. He was also very greedy and hoarded everything in sight. Alas, his never-ending appetite eventually cost him his hair. It happened at harvest time. "Make yourself useful, dear, and go help your mamma pick the corn," Anansi's wife said to him one morning as he lounged lazily in his web. "Ugh," Anansi groaned, for the mere mention of work made his tummy growl. Nevertheless, he grabbed his hat and started slowly on his way. To his dismay, the path was hot and dusty, and tasty tidbits were few and far between. Only the thought of Mama's delicious bean stew kept him going. By the time he arrived, all he could think about was spicy beans simmering in Mama's famous stew. "I want to eat," he hollered as he pushed open the gate. "Not till you finish picking the corn," Mama exclaimed. Then, handing him a basket to fill, she scurried back to the kitchen. Soon the field was filled with the aroma of Mama's beans and onions. To his credit, Anansi tried to ignore the smell. First he turned this way, then he turned that. Still, the wonderful fragrance swirled all around him. "I must eat," he panted, putting down the basket. Just then, Mama crossed the field with a calabash bowl. "Stew at last," he rejoiced as he gulped his first mouthful. Then he spat, "Puh," for it was only water. "We'll feast when you finish," Mama scolded. But Anansi could bear it no longer. When Mama disappeared, he dashed into the kitchen. The bean stew hissed and bubbled in the pot. "Mmm," Anansi cried. In seconds, he was greedily guzzling spoonful after spoonful. But little spoonfuls were not enough. "I want more," he belched. Burp. Yanking off his hat, he turned it upside down. He filled it to the brim. Just then, he spotted Okra the cat. "Uh-oh," Anansi yelped, quickly plopping his bean-filled hat on his head. Then he smiled the handsomest smile. "Greetings, Anansi," Okra purred politely. "What are you doing here?" "Just helping dear old Mama with the harvest," Anansi replied with syrupy sweetness. But he didn't feel sweet. He felt hot, so hot it hurt. He shook his hat a little, but the boiling beans still burned. He shook his hat a little faster, but the stew still scalded. He jumped, he danced, he jiggled in his hat. Still, the beans burned hotter and hotter. Sensing a commotion, Crayman the dog appeared. "What's wrong with you?" he woofed. "Woof!" "Nothing," Anansi hollered. "Don't you know? It's hat shaking day." "Never heard of it," Crayman barked. Roof, roof. Why, yes, Anansi shouted, shaking his head faster and faster. It happens once a year. Hot shaking day! Ha, 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 hot shaking day! Anansi sang, hooting and hollering down the path. Finally, Anansi could stand it no longer. With one final howl, he ripped off his hat. Okra and Crayman roared with laughter as beans and onions spilled everywhere. Soon the birds and bugs joined in, for greedy Anansi was quite a sight. The beans had completely burned off his hair, leaving him as bald as a corn kernel. Alas, his hair never grew back. That is why, to this day, Anansi shuffles in shame through the grass where no one can see his big, bald head. And that is the story of Anansi the spider, called the Hoot and Holler Hat Dance. I'm sure you guys recall Anansi the spider stories before. Have you heard of them? Maybe heard one or two in the past? If not, this is your first one. It's a folk tale. The words I would like to review with you today for this week's vocabulary are, repeat after me, dismay. Dismay is a strong feeling of sadness or worry about something that happened. Say it again, dismay. Next word, repeat after me, ignore. If you ignore something, you do not pay any attention to it. Ignore. Commotion. A commotion is a lot of noise and confusion. Commotion. Tempting. If something is tempting, you want it even though you know you should not have it. Tempting. And the last word is deceive. If you deceive people, you get them to believe something that is not true. Deceive. Okay, let's review all the words together. Repeat after me. Dismay, ignore, commotion, tempting, deceive. These are the 5 vocabulary words that we are reviewing this week. Many of them are within the story we just read, the Hoot and Holler Hat Dance. I'd like you to review the story one more time now that you know the words, and hopefully knowing the meanings and definitions of these vocabulary words, it will help you comprehend the story a little bit better. Bye, boys and girls. See you next time.